So there are four areas that we need to explore when we look at creativity. The first question that comes to our mind is, what has creativity got to do with education? The second area should examine the Indian scenario and how creativity is being used within education. Third, how can we enhance creativity in the classroom? And the fourth part would be, what hampers creativity, especially in a classroom? To put it simply, creativity is quite difficult to explain. As somebody had put it many years ago, it's like asking a bird, how do you fly? You just do. That's all. So creativity is more or less breaking the established pattern of thinking and doing things and taking a completely new approach towards it. Creativity, more or less, see, each of us has creativity, it's just that we don't realize it or we don't have the platform to express it. And creativity is all about a balance between theory and practical. For example, if we reflect in our own lives, there might have been some point of time when we thought, okay, I learned this in a creative way. Or there was someone maybe outside the world of academia who taught you something in such a way which was completely unique, and you remember it till this day. So that's when you know you have engaged with creativity. Let's take movies for example, because movies are a great way in terms of educating people at some points in life. When you look at movies, all the best movies in the world, be it Hollywood or Bollywood, they all have some creative aspect to it. For example, if I take some popular Indian movies, something to do with education perhaps, let's say Tare Zameen Par or Three Idiots for that matter, they showed education either being learned or being taught in a very unique way. If I take a movie like Rocky, let's say from Hollywood, Sylvester Stallone, the guy is punching meat bags. So it's not just an average boxing movie where an underdog comes and rises. It's the way he does it. That's what's so unique about it. And that's what motivates us to think differently, to do things differently, to enhance life overall. The second area is what's happening in India today. In India, we have to understand that, first of all, there's a lot of accountability on professors, as well as there's a lot of scripted lessons. While completing the syllabus is obviously important globally, in India, there is also, right from a school level, a lot of pressure on getting things done. So the aspect of learning is kind of sidetracked. And that's what's happening between private schools and public schools. People prefer a private school. Question of affordability is different because they feel that they're going to learn something better over there. In the public school, perhaps the creativity aspect is still not being explored in depth. And that is why it gives rise to tuition classes and extra classes and so on, which hampers creativity in some way. If you look at the overall practices that are taking place in India, they are more theory specific. So we need to be more practical in that aspect, and hopefully India can make a big difference. There are already some sectors which are already thinking creatively, they're expressing their creativity, but it's not happening on a mass scale like it should be. The third area is, how can we enhance creativity in the classroom? Creativity in the classroom depends on the person or the mentor or the coach or say a professor who is actually leading the class in a very unique way. We have to strike a balance between tradition and creativity. We can't just do any one. If you're too traditional, the student would say the class is slightly boring. And if you're too creative, the student might forget the traditional values that are brought about in an institute. So first of all, lecturers or professors or mentors or coaches, they need to break out from the formula of regular teaching. They have to do something different. Secondly, induce humor Now, humor is of course a double-edged sword. If you use too much of it, it can again hamper creativity. But if you use it in the right dose, if you use it in the right way, it can bring about wonderful results. And it's a win-win situation for everyone. Then, of course, we have, apart from installing humor, you can play puzzles, you can have mind games. Let them watch movies at sometimes, short video clips. Music is one form of creativity. Art, sometimes when you start your presentation, you can just have a word cloud. So people are trying to figure out all the ways words have been written and on screen. It helps break the ice when you understand the audience. Your communication skills are very important at this stage. And then when we look at the final part, which is what hampers creativity, these could be mainly 3 points. Number one is lecturers today are quite dependent on the study material, that is, say, textbooks or the visual aids such as a PowerPoint slide or a transparency. So that needs to go out. A lot of free flow has to be there. Yes, visual cues are required, visual aid is required, but it has to be done correctly. Secondly, again, induce humor, but not in such a way that you make a person a victim of your innocent jokes. Thirdly, don't be too critical. Silence your inner critic. Don't be too judgmental. Let the expression grow. Also, we need to understand that it's very difficult to control an audience. When you're looking at an audience, there are usually, in every audience, any part of the world, there are 3 types of members in an audience who could create a problem. One is a clown who will probably want to crack jokes just to make others laugh, which is distracting for the person who's speaking. Secondly, could be a heckler who keeps interrupting you. And thirdly, could be a person who's just not interested. He just wants to be physically present over there. So a creative person, a creative coach, a mentor, or a lecturer has to find out ways in order to connect with the audience. And once that is established, hopefully any of these 3 members in an audience, who are always present in any audience for that fact, they might be inclined to look at creativity, because creativity is something that brings about curiosity. It's like igniting a spark. And once you have done that, then let creativity take its own sweet journey. So, number one, you can't satisfy all audiences. So you have to mix it up, right? And if you use some of these tools that I just mentioned, very basic tools, there are plenty of videos out there, plenty of literature which shows how exactly we can enhance creativity. If all of this is done in the correct way, it brings about a great balance in theory and practical, because today's students expect a lot more. They pay money, so they want to know everything that's linked to their career. They have information at their fingertips. Today we are in a rich media environment, so we have to be very much aware about what is happening in the world. We have to give them practical examples, give them hypothetical situations to work out, solve problems, do even a role play. It might take a lot of time. Do mock projects and things like this. This gives a feeling of confidence within the student. So on a final note, I would like to say that, as Albert Einstein once said, that it is the supreme art of the teacher to awaken joy in creative expression and knowledge. So if we can all follow that principle, be it in academics or outside academics, I'm sure the world will be a more creative place.